So first question, who likes PowerPoint? Can I see hands? No. Okay, well, that's nice because I didn't prepare a presentation in PowerPoint for you. So we're matched, and that's a nice thing then. Just a question to warm up. Who already vibe coded? Okay, a lot of people. Can someone tell me one thing that challenged you while vibe coding? Any problems arising? Any strange things? Yes?
Confidently incorrect.
Confidently incorrect.
Yeah.
That's a nice description.
Yeah, it took me a while to discover the skills,
Yeah.
the plugins, and when you discover this thing, it goes. But first, if you try without it, because it tells you have to
Yeah. What happens?
Then at one moment when you discover the skills, the things are going fast.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just goes.
Otherwise, it goes, but it still needs a lot of correction. It does go. We try.
Yeah.
But
okay, yeah, that's exactly my experience as well. Vibe coding, cool. At the beginning, I didn't believe my eyes the first time I was doing that. It was like magic, and then after a while, I thought, yeah, nice, but this is all crap. I can't deploy this. This is nice for, I don't know, a prototype or something, but that's it. And that's when my journey started. So today I want to talk with you about working effectively and efficiently with AI. And I called it the feature development edition, because that's when you need it. That's when you need more structure. That's when you can't vibe code anymore. If you're trying to, as me, like me, create a product which is actually used by other people, runs in production, then you have to have more guardrails, more structure. And I like to take you along with what I discovered. Some points, not everything, but because in the end, I think maybe more than 100 things I needed to fix in order to actually be productive. As Marcus said, I'm Jan-Willem. I'm now a gen.ai consultant at Delta Fiber, and I was a Java developer, but they outsourced it to Society, and I was happy to stay in another role. So day in, day out, I think maybe 16 hours a day I'm working with AI. I made this, proud to show it. Quickly. This is my app I created with the help of my friends of the Eonics mastermind. And this is an app that assigns referees to games automatically, in an optimized way. And you can say, if I say assign, it is the demo effect. There it is. You see,
it's the hotspot compiler.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, indeed. DevTools. Now all the games have a referee, and that saves a lot of time for people like me, because in my sports life, I don't know, in my hobby life, I'm a referee coordinator, and I did this by hand, taking more than 6 hours at a time. So I want to improve my life. That's why I built this app. So how do I tame Claude Code? Spoiler alert, this talk is also a little bit about Spec Kit, so I can show you something about that and talk about that. And as I said, the beginning here is vibe coding. What happens there? Your session closes, you open a new session, all the knowledge you gave to the AI to code is gone. And that's why I came up with a metaphor, because an LLM with this context window, it's just like a developer with amnesia. Every time you open a context window, everything's gone. So how do you work with that? How can I make this, instead of an amnesiac developer, a genius? If you don't work in a more structured way or manage your context, you have to tell it over and over again all your guidelines, your rules, how you want to code, stuff like that. And also, an LLM can't read your mind. So you have a lot of knowledge in your head, which is important for your app, but it's always gone. Every context window. So you need to repeat yourself. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot back and forth. That's of course not what you want. So this is a problem of missing context. What you need is feeding your LLM instructions, and those are the instructions you want to give to them. And that's personal per project, of course. There's no, and that's the problem of also the challenge for an LLM itself. There are a lot of people, a lot of preferences, so there's no one LLM. It's just, in the end, a very good prediction machine, of course, based on your input. So my main message today, and I think for most of the people it's not new, but I want to iterate this because it's the most important driver for me, and I see for most people around me as well. Effectiveness, that's equal to context engineering. And that just means give an LLM which forgets every time everything. Give the LLM context so it always knows how it should operate for you. So yeah, everything I'm going to tell, all the principles, it's around this context engineering. How can you context engineer for yourself? I have some practical guidelines for you. You can think about context engineering in 3 levels. You have persistent context, just in time, and decision time. So persistent context is context you always give, and that should be minimal because it eats up your context window. And you can also make sure your LLM loads context when it needs it. And that's the just-in-time context. You can, for example, see that in one of my artifacts in my repo. And you can also provide context at certain points in your workflow, and that's the decision time level I wrote down here. I want to take you through 7 pitfalls I encountered and how I worked around those. I use Spec Kit. You can use any framework what you like, but the principle is there are frameworks out there which make it easier for you to structure your workflow. And there's also OpenSpec and a lot of more frameworks. I tried Spec Kit and I immediately saw its power, so I stick with it. and I work with this for more than a year now. What do they say? What is spec-driven development? In one sentence, it's making your technical decisions explicit, reviewable, and evolvable. So that's nice what you produce with Spec Kit. You produce all kinds of markdown files, which collect your memory also when you create it. And it also stirs your workflow and your LLM to code surgically or more surgically and more relevant. It's a framework. It's nothing more than that. And a framework is just a collection of shell scripts and markdown files. So it's not, ooh, Spec Kit, this is a very special app. It's a very good repo on GitHub. I recommend to read their philosophy and their files. That's not, otherwise this presentation will take a bit long. And it has a structured workflow for you. You can work with. First, you create a constitution, and in that constitution, that will contain all your principles. How do you want to work? Framework choices, tech stack choices, principles, anything which will be context for your LLM. I can show you part of my constitution later. And then you have phases, specify, in which you create specs. You can optionally run clarify to improve your spec. You can ask the LLM to find ambiguities or other strange things. Then you have a plan phase. And the specs is just natural language, code agnostic. Plan will be the implementation of that. And the tasks are derived from the plan. So that way you give the LLM just enough, but not too much to work with. So it can just be focused on the task at hand. Analyze is also a nice phase in which it checks all your artifacts produced until then and see whether there are inconsistencies before you implement the code. And implement, yeah, well, that speaks for itself, I guess. Yeah, JP? Yeah, good question. Purpose of this feature-driven development? It's a feature, a small chunk, yeah.
You want to let AI change your code, you create a new spec for that particular feature.
Yeah, and it should always be a self-contained unit of one function. And that's, of course, where you as a developer with your mind power still make the difference, because you have to come up with a nice guarded feature. If you say, create me an app in one spec, that's a problem. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the constitution. That's indeed the constitution. The constitution is something which gets reused for every spec round. So you can create your constitution. Exactly. You have a constitution for your app, and the specs fall within that whole unit.
Step one is copy the constitution from another project so that it all aligns, and then change it with the specific project. I mean, it's copy-paste all around.
Yeah.
On the specs themselves, you can actually talk to Claude and ask it, I want to do the following things, lay it out in a few spec kits, specify prompts so that I can build them in one track. That works great.
Indeed. So Spec Kit has evolved, and it's now very it's now extensible. So that's nice. You can give it your own presets, templates. So it's very customizable. So there are three layers in my workflow. Of course, the Claude Code layer, which I use, especially with Claude MD, of course, and its skills and explore agent I use, and the hooks. That's the first layer. Then we have Spec Kit out of the box with its commands I can use, and then I have my own customizations. 17 principles, as I said in the Constitution, and an app policy. Yeah, to scaffold it, and then you can always just work with Claude Code because it's markdown files.
And also good to point out it works with Claude, but all of the other tools
yeah.
as well. So
If you really like Copilot, Codex, but yeah, if you want to work with it enterprise-wise and you only have Copilot, it's also good. What I especially did for my workflow is I appended some instructions to commands from Spec Kit. I replaced some templates, and it is all based on my experience with working with Spec Kit. For example, this is one of my files. As you can see, we have a standard workflow, and I say I want to have these tasks executed sequentially, because if Claude Code worked with sub-agents, they lose structural context with each other. So that didn't work. I wanted to have more reviews, because I saw after one task and then a review by Claude Code itself, in the end it produced better code if it reviewed itself. So that's a nice one for you to build in as well. Lots of self-reviews. And I also added instructions for if there are UI changes, that it did the verification by itself with Chrome DevTools. And I wanted to keep the repo of Spec Kit intact.
Did you connect to the Chrome MCP server?
Yeah. The DevTools, I use that for the... Spec Kit says, okay, I built something, and now you have to manually check it. And I thought, well, no, you are the agent. You have to do it by yourself. Here, use DevTools. Don't bother me.
If we're lucky, we'll see it in action.
Yeah. So that's coming back to your question, JP. The spec is yours for the feature, and the whole framework of Spec Kit is for your agents to really guide your workflow.
How do you tell Claude Code to do Spec Kit? Automatically doing that?
I can tell. You can install Spec Kit in Claude with the CLI, and then it just installs Claude native files in the right directories in the Claude file, so it recognizes the commands. So it's just placing in the .claude folder in the right way through the setup of Spec Kit, and it's really easy to do.
But basically, you get a few extra / commands to use inside Claude.
Yeah.
Like skills.
Yeah, indeed. It is, yeah, a command. It's a collection of that. So I have all these rules and guidelines, and there are 3 ways to enforce them by just adding them to the files. But sometimes you have that experience too. If the context gets too big, you lose those instructions. Second level is using scripts, and then you're, of course, dependent on the LLM recognizing it needs to run the script. And hooks. I'm a great fan of hooks because I got fed up with Claude Code basically. When it encountered an issue in a test, it always said, "Whoa, yeah, this is pre-existing, skipping it." I didn't like that. I made instructions, I made memories, I made everything. It still got over it, hand waving. Yeah, it is pre-existing, or I don't think this is important, goodbye. And then it went on to do other things. If you use a hook in combination with a bash script that says no, if you say it's pre-existing, you have to fix it. And the only thing that worked were the hooks. So that's a nice thing to keep in mind. If the soft layer and the checkable layer doesn't work for a particular thing, because Claude Code, yeah, it's biased to action and to progress. If it skips things you don't like and it does it all over again, use a hook. And I just created a hook. I didn't have any knowledge of hooks, but I asked Claude to create a hook. And that worked. Now the things I encountered and my solutions. This one, I told you, it's biased toward progress, and that's very nice. However, sometimes you don't need that. You're creating a production app. You don't want to go fast, but you want it to go the right way, the right code, enforced through linting, through unit tests, stuff like that. Don't skip anything. Therefore, you can, for example, edit your task MD file with more explicit references to, for example, to the review. And then you can point a hook to it. And then that way, you can always count on that. So indeed, it's from the suggestion for Claude. So you can do it like that. To no, one must do this. And I always want to have 100% on my tests. Sometimes it says, "Oh, okay, some tests failing, but whatever. I'm going to progress now." Another thing is, maybe you have seen that as well, LLMs tend to write very verbose code. I don't know why, maybe because code is cheap for them, or it's been trained incorrectly on Stack Overflow answers.
They get paid by the token.
They get paid by the token, maybe. It's but I didn't like that, and I always like to write clean code and minimal codes. So I added this to my constitution. The KISS principle, explicitly in my constitution. That is, so these are the commandments for Spec Kit. And a Spec Kit also helps you with writing the constitution, by the way, with the constitution command.
Every time you go to Claude Code, this is appended to the
Yeah. Yeah. I also, for example, did another hack for Angular if it was written for both CSS. I have some budgets that are enforced, and if it runs builds and the builder of the build command of Angular says you exceeded your budget, Cloud is now instructed to decompose, for example, a component, and that's that's in the Angular file. Here. Another thing Claude Code wants to do is make custom implementation for standard stuff. So I had to teach it to always find the library solution which to use. For example, a lot of functionality is already in a Spring framework. You don't need to write some interceptor yourself. Find it in the documentation and use that. Therefore, that's also in my constitution. I can show you on the. Yeah, it's 11. So here. I pointed my settings to that a mandatory research phase to find all those framework implementations. And also, you can instruct in the framework to use the Explore agent. So it already maps what you already done. And Cloud LLMs like patterns, so it can find the right pattern to reuse if you implement a new feature. Another thing is that that's also the training data issue, of course. Old syntax. This is also writing wrong code. So I have mitigated that by my modern syntax requirements in the Constitution. You can also do, that's a nice thing that yielded most results for me, an MCP server like Context 7 or Ref. You can on which you can instruct Cloud Code to do research first on all the documentations of frameworks or libraries you use. So it finds the patterns which are established, and it does not create itself implementations. One other nice thing is that I created an extra extension, this is my research library. So every time in the feature there was a research element, I kept it for later use. So I don't have to repeat it if it's not necessary. I said, well, if you did research, add it to the research library, and when you are doing new feature development, first consult my research library. And that resulted in interesting entries with all kinds of technical stuff to repeat the right pattern. I have also a tip from Barry. That was a nice one. You can do research, but if you're heavily using one other open source libraries, just check out that repo and put it in your own code base. So the LLM can consult the actual source code, not documentation, but actual source code of the library you're using. And that's always better, of course. So I cloned, for example, for me, Keycloak and Timefold in my own project. And for some really strange bugs, I really needed that. So that all saves time and structures your workflow even better. Yeah, and code is cheap, I said. You get code out of AI, but do you like it? Sometimes it just writes and then it just needs checks. I build in ESLint and PMD. I don't know if you all know these tools. ESLint is a type checker for TypeScript, and PMD is a checker for Java. And I made it very strict. And every time there is a checkpoint, I let Claude Code run Maven Verify, and it also runs PMD. So it catches strange code or verbose code or any violations quite quickly. And also what I referred to earlier, my mandatory code reviews. Also make sure you don't end up with code you don't like and for which you are a bit ashamed if someone else looks at it. And the last one, I don't like comments which are just strange throwaway comments. LLMs like to write those comments. So I guess you all recognize this. So you can also circumvent this with, for example, the Constitution. So yeah, this is what you can do. If you have an agent that skips tests, create a hook. If the code is too verbose, use Constitution in combination with your Claude MD file. If it reinvents the wheel all the time, make sure you have something in place for that, and you can use an Explore agent and a framework first principle, for example. If it uses old syntax or old patterns, you can always point to context 7 to do research in the most current documentation and use the local source code if that's available. And you can also, a very good one is to use the linting where available. Use it more than you want, more often than you think it's needed. So everything I told is is based on just a scar, a battlefield scar of mine. I have lots. I encountered lots of problems in this, and that's where my presentation is based on.
Real life examples.
Yeah.
Not a story written.
Yeah, you can see stuff like this.
There's some default guidelines, because I can imagine that every developer that is doing it runs into the same problem and maybe also has the same solution.
Yeah, that's why I did this presentation. But there are no default guidelines indeed, because there's a lot of.
The interesting thing is I've reinvented a few of these things myself as well.
Yeah.
So the shared research is an interesting one. I had that, and I don't think I ever mentioned it to you, but I have multiple projects. It's cheaper if I save the research across context. So you tend to work with the same technology, things like Spring Boot. Whenever it figures out how to do something with Keycloak and Spring Boot, write it down, use it the next time. We reinvented that both. I'm looking into hooks myself, so I guess that's the next step.
Yeah, so that's also my takeaway in the end of my presentation. You can't cure the amnesia, but you can brief the developer.
Okay, thank you, Jan-Willem, for this first part.
That's it.
No worries.
So, 2 speeds, 1 driver. I'm generally the driver. Claude Code has multiple speeds, as I'll show. I'm Barry. I work in my own business, Coffee Sprout. I do hosting for Java apps. A lot of you people know me through my business. So, last year I did a workshop, and I see some familiar faces. A workshop on Kubernetes. I kind of overestimated how much ground we could cover in 2 hours. Turned out to take a little longer. Tonight I'm going to do a speed run from my laptop and just show you some Kubernetes magic driven by Claude. I always talk about guardrails. How do you keep your system secure? I'm not going to belabor that point today, but I want to say again, Spec Kit is really for the big features. I use it too. The question that wasn't answered, how long does it take to implement a feature? And generally, it takes me about 30 minutes to 45 minutes per feature, if I already pre-hammered the spec myself. So that's about the speed you can go with Spec Kit. I did a live presentation with Spec Kit where I did 2 specs in 1 session. It worked, and the application I'm going to show today and deploy in production. So, okay, we're not going to use Spec Kit, but how do we maintain control of this agent? There are other ways of doing it, and there are some included in Claude Code as well. So 2 speeds and 1 that I avoid. Who has worked with Claude Code, by the way? Okay, so you're all probably familiar with these, at least plan mode, which is kind of getting old already. Plan mode is a read-only mode. Basically, it's almost like Spec Kit specify. We're going to talk to the agent, explore the code base. I want to do this. Make a plan for doing this, and it will present you a plan at the end, which you approve or tell it to change 5 to 10 times, depending on how often you change your mind. But it will not make changes. It will not edit your files. It will not log into systems unless I tell it to. So it's generally safe to do. Auto mode is something really new. Has anybody used it already? Yeah, of course. Okay. So it's new. It's probably only included if you use Opus, which is the more expensive model. So that probably keeps you from using it. But it doesn't prompt you for, can I do this anymore? It will decide on its own, yeah, this is safe and this is not safe. And the last one, dangerously skip permissions. Yeah, I've read about many people losing their work, their laptops, well, not their lives, but definitely their careers using skip dangerously permissions. You should run that in a VM or a dev container if you want to do it, but auto mode is better in every way, so don't do it. And in general, never use it anywhere near client data. So you mentioned everything will end up in the cloud. Yeah, so don't use it on sensitive data, or make sure that the sensitive data is not so sensitive. Things like keys can be re-rolled if you make your infrastructure in such a way that the keys themselves are very temporary. There's no danger in leaking them. That sort of things. And that's generally the thing that the agent won't tell you to do. So that's where your experience as a developer or infra person helps. So how does plan mode work? I just said it's read-only. It cannot edit or run mutating commands. That's not entirely true. I have driven sessions where I forgot that I was in plan mode and it did everything, but I did have to prod it along the way. Yeah, just go ahead and change that. That looks good. Go do that. But sometimes, so this week I said, well, you know, get the latest versions out of Git. And it was like, no, I can't even do that. And I was like, sure you can. And I'll show you what plan mode looks like in a few minutes. So auto mode, before, and so some of you already used it, Claude Code will at some point start editing files. It will start compiling. You generally allow these commands, so that's easy. In my case, I also do a lot of commands on other servers or run scripts, and at some point it just starts to ask for everything. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Gets annoying. Auto mode basically takes your Claude MD, your instructions, your memory as feedback. This is what I'm allowed to do. And it takes your prompt. And for example, if I say research this or check this, it will check. But as soon as it's like, yeah, I can also fix it because it's over eager by design, it will get blocked by auto mode and basically said, no, you can't do that. And this is an example of it trying to do that. I was basically check why the builds aren't progressing at this point. It saw some queued jobs and it was like, yeah, let me just go cancel those ones. And it was like, no, you don't, because he said check. He didn't say clean it up. And then you can either give it permission to do it or not. And in one case, I gave it permission, it kept coming back in auto mode. No, you really can't do this. So sometimes you just have to skip auto mode and do it yourself. But at least there's some guardrails in there, so it's starting to get better. I'm going to do a short live demo if Claude wants to play ball. Any of you seen For All Mankind, the series on Apple TV? No, so they happen to land on Titan, and the cluster I'm deploying on is also Titan, so I figured, that's just so cute. So we're going to start with plan mode. You cycle the modes by Shift-Tab. So accept edits, that's the one that's also included, basically just allows you to change all the files without saying yes on everything. Then we have plan mode. And I'm just going to feed it a prompt and get started. And since you didn't come here to see me type and mistype everything, I did the prompts ahead of time. Oh, one thing. And we're going to use fast mode to make it go extra fast. Yeah, we're going to spend some money on this one today. So don't worry, Anthropic had many outages in the past few months, and they actually give you extra credit for those. So I still have some credits, and I'll just let it run. Can you see this in the back still, or? So the explore agents that Jan-Willem mentioned, it starts with the explore, find the kube config, and then deploy files. There are none. That's the whole challenge. And it's going to look at the runtime environment for us. And hopefully do it fast. In general, this step took about 2 minutes without fast mode, so I'm rooting for it to be even faster now. So one of them is done now, and it's not done on that one. Okay. There you go, now it's thinking, and thinking can be either 10 seconds or 6 minutes for some reason, so. May have conflated the planned end state. Okay.
This was on auto mode, right?
No, this is plan mode.
Is it plan mode?
You have to pay for these tokens.
Yeah, I did the dry run earlier today. It was about $25 in tokens. So these do add up quickly. I think you can spend a few $100s a day if you do this. So don't do that. I love how it's completely going off the rails today, of course, when I'm doing a demo. But let me get the Harbor credentials for it.
It's not blocking, so you can just keep feeding it new commands while it's running.
Yeah, you can. It will sometimes pick them up right away, sometimes with a little bit of delay, but generally I queue up new commands while it's busy. So I'm just going to refresh the deployment token because, well, with Kubernetes it does need to... there you go. Don't bother saving the credentials, I'll roll them after this. And we're going to use the real API because no guts, no glory, and we'll use the handwritten YAML just to keep it going faster. So I stored the TLS certificates. That's the only thing I cheated with. In general, Kubernetes will provision the certificates for us. It's also one of those things that can go wrong during demo. So the cheap thing is to just keep the certificate I generated earlier today, because they only allow you to generate 5 per week per domain. So, you know, a few trials and you burn your credits and then you can't do this. This showed up during our workshop last year. So some of you probably still remember. Okay, so it has a plan. So finally, that was the thing I was waiting on. So, plan, we're doing a fresh deploy. Okay, perfect. It did some checks, it's empty, except for the TLS stuff. Because we have quotas enforced, we want to put quotas on our Kubernetes deployment, but we have plenty of space, of course. Anonymous pool, I made it as simple as possible because we're not here to debug my infrastructure. We're here to see an application. Just to show you that we're not going to be cheating on this. Come on. Seriously. So, nothing up my sleeve. There's no application yet. I'm just going to tell it, yeah, let's get going, and that's auto mode. You can also do manually approve edits. So if you're not so sure about this, you can also run through them step by step. An ultra plan is something you can only do if there's a Git repository added to it, and it will just ship all your code to the cloud, and then you can talk to it from a browser. So we're not going to do that. I never tried that, by the way. So let's run auto mode, and let's see how fast it goes. So fortunately, even without Spec Kit, it does have some structure. So it creates tasks, and it will check these and will mark these as done. Everybody who's used Claude Code before probably seen this before. These are tools that are offered to the agent. It's going to build and push. Well, we didn't change any code, so it will build, fortunately. We're using Quarkus for this application, and using JIB to build the container image without Docker. It's going to push it to Harbor, and then can use Harbor to deploy it into the cluster. And it's generally very good at the create YAML files, so which it's going to show in a few moments if it's... Harbor is a container repository.
Okay.
So, hey, Automode decided let's not do this. So you all saw the token anyways. I challenge you to remember it. Like I said, I will cycle it afterwards. So. And the funny thing is I did this like twice and it didn't flag this as an issue. Okay.
Probably on its best behavior because he knows the
Okay. Okay, fine. If you want me to do this. So now I'm going to do an inline command. That's the, what do you call it in English? The bang. Yeah, that's great. That's not going to work. Okay, so now I'm going to have to do some real engineering.
Or you just have to say, I explicitly grant permissions.
No, it's trying to use the Harbor binary, which I tried using today, and it's just horrible. It wants interactive control for everything, so it's not very useful. No shortcuts here. Yeah, obviously you don't remember.
And that is why I use Spec Kit.
The thing is, when I set up this project, it created a Claude MD with all the details, and it would just face roll through it in like 30 seconds. That wouldn't be fun, but I didn't want it to be this challenging.
Now, I was not bashing you, but this just demonstrates the power of Opus, which is very powerful, and simultaneously, it's still non-deterministic.
Yep, very. So this is the third time I'm running it today, and it's the only time it's failing. So yeah, that's... I have no idea what it's trying to do, really.
You cannot use like a previous session, like a list out all the session which is accessible. Can you use that?
Okay. You know what? I'm just going to restart it in the background because it's really not getting it this time.
It can be quite an expensive demo.
Well, that's the problem when you're doing anything involving Kubernetes. So you need some repository to put your stuff, and obviously you don't want to put this all open on the internet either, so that other people will start putting their stuff in.
Is it more expensive because you use the fast option, or it's always expensive?
It's more expensive with the fast option. It will probably run out at some point. So get a new token because I lost the other one.
So now the other session will probably complain that the token is invalid.
Yeah, but I just gave it now, so it's going to be like, okay, thank you. See, now I have everything I need. Yeah. And now it's going to do exactly what I expected it to do. There's a Quarkus container image username and a password variable that it can set. I'm going to do this live again.
Photosynthesis is not running tokens.
Sorry? But this is the general, I'm doing something in the background. So this word is actually an additional call to another agent, a haiku agent, the cheapest one. It basically takes the context so far and generate me a single word that's funny and goes with this. You can disable that, by the way. So yes, just go and do it. Well, at least we get to present one of the last slides. I'm writing down that it's not always deterministic. Well, I guess I'm proving that live today. So, all right, finally, it's building something.
Statistical vector.
And there we go. Yes, it's running the build now. So I have no idea what it was trying to do first with the Harbor CLI. It's probably just trying to look at the repository directly. It shouldn't do that.
Some say Opus degrades a little bit after 4.6, so 7 and 8 are a little bit worse in some regards.
I haven't noticed that so far today. This is the first time I'm kind of thinking like, shit, Claude, you used to be able to do this. You see a lot of complaining online, it's nerfed, it's not as good as it used to be. I think they do scale back the models a while after they release them, probably because they're so constrained on compute that they have no other choice. But for most of the stuff I do, it's really not an issue. So I do have the more expensive plan because it gives me unlimited opus, and I've noticed that it is the better model. But
Unlimited.
well, for all intents and purposes, it's unlimited. By the way, that's the MCP, and you see it's now deployed to production. Whip out your phones. Go ahead and check it. So the code was written in another session. Today, just built the container, deployed it live to a production environment. And it's now testing it through the browser. Yep. Maybe go back to Claude. So no console errors or warnings. It will also check for JavaScript errors and fix them for you. So there you go.
Can you show the browser again?
Sure.
It's not fast
Oh, slim schakelen, een demo. Yeah. Nothing up my sleeve. Even my failures are visible. So. Okay, one thing you'd flag, yeah, pod security warning, really. This is the staging environment, by the way. So we generally run a staging environment where we warn for certain issues, like running a pod with root. Yeah, we're going to warn you, but you're not going to be able to do that in production. So this is where you filter these issues. We can just leave that as is and go back to the presentation. Thanks, Claude. Thanks for not completely ruining it. So the URL, in case you wanted to try again. So what Jan-Willem mentioned about it has amnesia, it forgets everything, that's partially true. So recently they added a memory feature that's probably not getting used a lot if you use Spec Kit. But for my infrastructure stuff, where I have a folder per project, it does actually retain knowledge and retain the information based on, hey, we fixed issue X this way, and it records that in a markdown file, indexes it, and can find it again if it needs it. What I also do, my own little bit of magic, is I have a work log skill in Claude Code, which basically just logs what we did in a session, what issues we ran into, if there's any room for improvement, and I collect these. I've been collecting them for about 4 or 5 months now, and I review them from time to time with another skill, and it will generate new skills and improvements to my current skills so that things work better. So certain things like upgrading clusters, it found a new failure mode, it will include that and check for it the next time. So its own mistakes become the guardrails for the next run. And I can probably show an example if there's time for that. So MCPs are worth it, but probably don't install too many of them. I use Playwright, which you just saw, Context 7, which Jan-Willem explained is really good. And from my own work, I have a lot of Grafana, so that I can actually check the logs without logging into servers. And it can normally wield CLI tools pretty well. Today wasn't the best demo, I suppose, with the Harbor CLI thing, but it will use the GitHub command, it will use the Git commands, it will do things that I couldn't replicate, even if I wanted to. So a few other things that I want to give you as tips or improvements. Rename your sessions. So I run about 10 sessions per day, and I often go like, shit, I fixed this last week, and I just go back to the session and see what we did. If you rename them, they're a lot easier to find. The work log skill that I mentioned also records the session ID, so it gives me something to search and track. I think we'll work out a goodie bag so that everybody gets access to these skills somehow. Keep one folder per context, kind of like a project. So I have one folder for each project. Sub-agents for side quests. You already saw some of that. The Explore agents are sub-agents. So you have a context, and as you know, the bigger it gets, the less it performs and the more it costs. So side quests, check this, or research this, or get me the change logs for this project is something that it could do in a sub-agent. It will instruct the sub-agent to do this, get a summary, and the main agent will take that summary rather than filling its context with everything it needed to do. And I mentioned this in Jan-Willem's talk, you can have a second agent second guess the first agent. Just be careful how you prompt it, because with LLMs, if you say find something, it will always find something. So generally I ask it to flag things, critique the code, explain why this isn't a good idea. Then I give it back to Claude and I say, analyze this thoroughly, but feel free to push back if you disagree. And you can go back a few rounds if you like. It does help the spec. It does help the implementation. It also costs a lot of time, and it starts to get to this point of diminishing returns where it's probably going to take longer to do it with AI than do it yourself. So context, like I said, you can search back through them. The 1 million token context is a godsend. Things got a lot better with Claude when the context grew, but don't let it run up too much. Use compact if the job's not done yet, or use clear if you're going to start a new task. There's the by the way command. I don't know if you've seen it, but it allows you to ask questions while you're doing something else, which is great because I used to just pollute my context with all sorts of things. Now you don't have to, and you can even fork it. So if you decide this by the way question is actually kind of interesting, can I start a new session with the old context and the new stuff and run it alongside? You can do that. Goal, I haven't tried that, but that's the Ralph Wiggum loop. Basically you say, I have a certain goal, go ahead and run as many sessions as you need to reach that goal. It's great for things like I have a server with a lot of WordPress accounts. Can you just go through all of them using these steps and migrate them to another server? Just as long as you're specific about what the end state looks like, otherwise it'll just continue going forever.
It's very cool.
Probably don't want.
It works really great.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
I have one use case, like I said, WordPress sites, but I still need to get the specs right for everything. So, oh yeah, so this is a mention of doing two things at the same time. Before this demo, I also I use the tenant operator. That's an application I built myself. It allows me to give a namespace to an application that's just for that customer. One of the products I'm selling is a Kubernetes cluster where you don't have to manage the cluster. You just get a namespace. You can upload your application like we just did, and it will run online. I manage the cluster and the operators for you. So I built this tenant operator to set up the namespaces, set up the security policy, and I decided, it would be really great if we test databases for this session. And I was like, okay, great, let's create a database from the operator. And it failed. 3 bugs. So my security policy was a little too strict. Maybe do allow access to the API so that it can query the state of certain objects. The operator couldn't pull from another namespace. So isolation is an important thing. If you run your application with me, you don't want other people poking at it. So I isolate every namespace by default, but I isolated a little too much. And it said, well, hey, the database up for 72 seconds, that's great, the application works. Yeah, until it failed the first health check because it couldn't reach the health check and it killed the database. These errors were found by the agent that was doing the testing the application. It created the bug report for the tenant operator agent and it fixed all these issues. Basically by just putting the file in the right folder, telling the other agent, hey, I have a bug report for you, get to work. And it fixed and deployed a new version so that the other agent could test it. Yeah, I should draw this out, I suppose. That's the thing I kind of debated. Should I add it in the presentation? I kind of wanted to add it as this is a possibility you can do. I'm not going to demo this live, especially not given that Claude already doesn't really want to do this. But I think this is an important one for me and Jan-Willem. The core message is the agent did the engineering, but we hold the standards. So you tell it what to build and how to build it. And I wanted to do this during the Q&A. Basically, the app I just showed was Dutch. Also show a development flow where it turns it into a bilingual app, but I believe we're out of time now.
We're not out of time. We have plenty of time, but maybe we do a little break for the pizzas who are waiting for us.
Sure.
And then we continue for the Q&A after the...
Yeah, and we can just let it run in the background so that people can see another flow running and it's doing something.
So you want to show something now? Or?
No, my presentation is done. I can start it now if people are like, yeah.
The demo you just mentioned.
Yeah, so the bilingual. I can, sure.
See what happens.
Sure, let's go back to plan mode. Now this is normally a great time to clear the context or compact it, but I'm not going to do that because we have plenty left and it just figured out how to do this. So let's not rock the boat, shall we? So we're going to add bilingual because the app is still live. Let me just show you. Please be still live. I really should pay my hosting provider, but this seems like a Firefox thing. Hold on.
Is it live for other people?
It is live for, yeah, it cached the first certificate where it doesn't work. So, of course it works. Of course. Wait, and because it's all in the JavaScript, it already showed the working version, but yeah, just refresh it and it's only Dutch now. I'm just gonna let it.
So this is the message.
Where?
Well, the AI does the work, you eat pizza. That's kind of.
Yeah.
That's the idea right there.
So let's give an applause for Baden.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Please write
And
down
Claude.
all your questions, discussion points, everything you want to talk about because we're going.